Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Early Edge, brought to you by BetMGM, the sportsbook born in Vegas. It's going to be a great Wednesday. We are just 43 days away from NFL season, but we've got a lot more to tackle here on a Wednesday. And oh, by the way, that's Troy Polamalu days away from NFL season. Let's take a look at how we did on the Tuesday recap screen. We play it pretty even here at 3-3, lose 3, win 3, but we did sneak in a plus 135 hit in here. So pretty much even on the day. But ladies and gentlemen, we're not trying to just break even. We are trying to have fun. We are trying to bet responsibly, but we're also trying to win you some money like we have been doing over the last couple of weeks. Let's go ahead and try to do that right now with the stars of the show, which of course includes Richard Pierre and James Rainwater and Jeff Stenberg, Eric David, Ryan Dietrich, and Amags, and PropStarz, and Larry Hartstein, and Zack Cimini. This is an incredible cast. Amags, I got to start with you. You're wearing the Dodgers hat. Usually you're wearing a hat that may indicate where you're headed. We've got a lot of day baseball. I'm sure you're going to get a lot of baseball questions. Amags, how you doing today?
I'm doing great. There is a ton of day baseball, as you mentioned. I think there's only 4 or 5 games after like 6 o'clock East Coast time tonight. So make sure that you could get your bets in early. And yes, I am wearing the Dodgers hat. Little shout out to me and Larry, because I'm going back to a pick from one that we had last night on the HQ show. We went 4 for 6 on our picks on MLB last night. And as I said, one of them is going to be the same for me today.
Professional transition. Larry, I was coming to you next. Are we going with MLB today? And maybe perhaps only 43 days away, are you coming with another NFL future?
I am, Sia. We got 10-day baseball games, and there's a quarterback I am going to talk about later that I think is just not getting enough love in the marketplace.
Very enough love, you say. I wonder if that's a play on words. PropStarz, you've been stacking the NFL futures in the SportsLine Discord. How you doing today?
I'm doing great, Sia. Good morning, everyone. The sun is shining in the Pacific Northwest. Fired up. We've got some day baseball. All in on NFL futures as well. Ready to get down to business, Sia.
Richard Pierre says MVP lineup. Why are we all wearing the same color? Like, I don't know, like it's not fully coordinated, but we're all in that light blue, bluish gray range. Zach, how you doing today?
I'm doing good as well. We saw a couple streaks end in baseball yesterday. The Brewers, 11 straight wins. Of the Blue Jays, 5 straight wins over the Yankees. I'm fired up about it. Football as well on the horizon, so let's go.
I live bet the Brewers yesterday. I think it was like literally with maybe 1 or 2 outs in the bottom of the 7th, it was 0-0. And I'm just like, the Brewers just find a way to win. I'm not a big Seattle guy in general. And then literally moments later, Kyle Raleigh hits a home run. And I'm like, okay, I deserve that. And that's just how that's going to go. So let's get to some baseball. Again, if you have a question in the chat, whether it pertains to the NFL or the NBA, or I should say TBT, which Zach was talking about before the show, or MLB, whatever you got, we will try to cover it, including PGA. I've got a PGA pick today. We did our best bets show yesterday. We've got our live chat today on this SportsLine YouTube channel, me and Rick Gaiman at 4 o'clock. So any sport you got, we are going to cover it. But we're going to start, Amags, with a little bit of baseball. We got a 4-10 game with the Dodgers.
Yeah, we do. And I mentioned it. We had this one on HQ last night. I'm going to go right back to it. It's the Dodgers' first 5 team total over 2.5 runs here today. And look, last night, I liked the matchup with Simeon Woods Richardson for those left-handed batters. But funny enough, it was actually Pages who hit, 3-run homer to cash that for us in the first 5. And that's kind of how it could go with this lineup. Again, today here with Chris Bassett, it could be those lefties who have 10 home runs against him this year already, but the right-handed hitters actually have hit near 300. And when you look at, I'm sorry, I said Bassett, I meant Paddock. But regardless, Bassett is pitching tonight. We've got the Yankees game on the brain. But Chris Paddock here, when you look at his last, 7-8 starts, it's actually just not been very good. And I think that, a guy like this, when he's not completing much more than 5 innings anyways, that's kind of a good spot to look at the first 5 team total in relation to the earned runs. Again, last night we saw the earned runs were juiced over 2.5, kind of a similar spot. And I think, when you look at Paddock here, 5 earned runs last time, 6 earned runs the start before that. The only miss that he's had here in his last 7 starts is when he's given up 2 earned runs in the 5 innings. So if we do not win, I think we'll be very close but at 2.5, it's still a very palatable price for the team total here for the Dodgers. You're not going to have Will Smith in the lineup, the day game after a night game, but I'm actually not that worried about that. I think that Dalton Rushing could be a nice little replacement here. He's had hits in 3 of his last 6 starts. So give me Dodgers team total first 5 over 2.5 again here today.
Yeah, you mentioned Andy Pages. That 3-run homer he had yesterday. I mean, this guy is really under the radar, to me at least, when it comes to, like, we got so many big names for the Dodgers. Andy Pages just continues to produce. And by the way, the Dodgers bullpen, are you worried at all? Am I overreacting just to yesterday? But just in general, long term, are you worried at all about the Dodgers bullpen?
Now I am. They lost Tanner Scott to a hamstring injury. I think that's certainly an issue. But then again, teams like, I have to at least give my Yankees credit. Teams like the Yankees, the Dodgers, even the Mariners to a certain extent, like, they seem to always get out and get bullpen help at the deadline. Yeah. I think once again, the Dodgers will do that. So in the end, they're probably not worried about the bullpen, but currently, yes, I would be.
And then we'll celebrate the Dodgers and their GM, even though all they do is just outspend every other team, like a handful of teams in Major League Baseball. I wish we could fix that. All right, let's go to, before I go on a 5-minute rant about salary caps, let's go to another baseball play. Zack Cimini, Alex Bregman, what you got?
Yeah, let's go over Alex Bregman's total bases, over 1.5, get a slight plus payout at plus 105. And really, I'm just looking for some energy from this Red Sox lineup. We know they had the 10-game winning streak prior to All-Star break, but you examine post-All-Star break, 5 games, the under is 5-0. But I think this is a good matchup for Boston in general, going up against Jesus Luzardo, who he's really struggled at Citizens Bank Park. 3 out of his last 5 starts at Citizens Bank Park have been disastrous, including his last 2. Last year, just 4 2/3 innings against the LA Angels. The prior start against the Reds last year, just 2 innings. And we've seen Bregman, since his return to the lineup, 6 out of his last 7 starts, he's had at least 1 hit. He had a pinch hit 3-run home run Sunday against the Chicago Cubs, and he has good stats against Luzardo. 11 at-bats, has 2 home runs against Luzardo. So let's take Alex Bregman. Maybe that Red Sox lineup scores some runs today, but I like his total bases over 1.5 plus 105.
All right. Well, PropStarz, I was going to save your pick to later in the show, but I mean, what a perfect transition. Talking about potentially Jesus Luzardo not having the best of days today. Talk to me about your Jesus Luzardo under.
Yeah, I'm in full agreement with Zach here. I'm fading Jesus Luzardo under 17.5 pitching outs. I'm surprised this line didn't open at 15.5 or 16.5 at most here. Jesus Luzardo, as Zach mentioned, has been shaky. Struggled at Citizens Bank Park. Now he's facing a Red Sox team that got completely blanked yesterday by Christopher Sanchez, who was absolutely dominant on the mound. But yeah, I think the bats will wake up in this matchup, much softer matchup versus Luzardo. The Red Sox have been exceptional versus opposing southpaws all season long. 3rd in weighted on base, 2nd in OPS versus lefties. So I think they get out there and have success against Luzardo, and I don't think he finishes 6 innings today. So we'll take the under here.
All right. A lot of baseball early in the show. We're going to have some baseball questions. We've got our home run sports line model that we need to tell you about. But before I do that, let me tell you what BetMGM has for you. BetMGM players will receive an any sport odds boost token. To use the token, add any sports wager to your bet slip and activate the token. It's that easy. Score extra winnings if your wager that was made with the odds boost token wins. Again, BetMGM does a really good job of letting you know where your boosts are, but certainly we're going to remind you on this show on the early edge. How about some more baseball? Like, listen, we're going to talk about other stuff too, but we've got some sports line picks. So let's just get all the baseball, or at least a lot of the baseball, out of the way on the front end. Sean Manaea, over 5.5 Ks at minus 134. That one courtesy of Prop Bet Guy. And then we're going to the Rangers money line. I looked at this one too. Rangers money line, minus 136. A little juice here, but minus 136. Rangers money line says Bruce Marshall. A lot of baseball. We're going to get to a lot more baseball. We're going to get to your questions. We got an NFL future that Larry Hartstein, quote, loves. Little hint there. And I've got a golf play that I'm bringing over from the early wedge. And if you have golf questions, I'll answer those for you today as well and at 4 o'clock. But before we get to any of that, let's hear a message from our partners.
Here we go. The 2025 CBS Sports NFL schedule is here. 18 glorious Sundays.
He's got his receiver touchdown.
Filled with rematches.
Oh, the play of the year.
And rivalries.
Touchdown, Bengals.
Plus, plenty of superstar showdowns. And an epic matchup between the Chiefs and Cowboys on Thanksgiving. Clear your Sundays beginning September 7th for the NFL on CBS and Paramount Plus.
We are back on the Early Edge, brought to you by BetMGM, the sportsbook born in Vegas. I do want to remind you, Fantasy Football Today show is hosting a draft-a-thon to raise money for St. Jude's Children's Research Hospital. To help raise money, we're auctioning off a chance to come onto this show and give out a play again on the Early Edge. We'll drop the link in the chat. We'll drop it in the YouTube and podcast description. And if you click on that and you bid on the chance to give out a pick on the Early Edge, you can win and you can come onto this show. So there's a lot of links. There's a lot of things to look out for. I mean, I guess July is just sort of the season for that because we're up for Best Male Hosted Podcast, which I will remind you tomorrow and Friday about. I haven't really talked about it over the last week or so, but here it is, podcastawards.com. It's so incredibly easy. It takes 60 seconds or less. All you got to do is go to podcastawards.com and hit sign up to vote now. Go to Best Male Hosted Podcast, vote for the Early Edge. Go to Best Sports Podcast and vote for Cover 3 or Fantasy Football Today, whatever you want to vote for. And there's other categories. You don't have to vote in all the categories. You can just vote in one or two. Again, 60 seconds or less. It is incredibly easy. You have to put your email, create a password. They delete it right away after voting is done. They just want to make sure you're a real person. It really is 60 seconds or less. So thank you for doing that. I'll do a couple reminders because voting closes in about a week. Let's get to my golf play. And then, Larry, we're going to get to your baseball play. We're going to get to the home run props. We're going to get to your NFL future. I'm bringing this over from the early wedge yesterday. It's a round one matchup. Davis Thompson, who was one of my first round leaders. If you want to get the rest, go to the early wedge. It's in your feed. Davis Thompson, minus 115 over Sung J.M. A couple watch outs with this one. One is Davis Thompson isn't a great putter, and I don't typically like to lean on guys who aren't great putters, but I do love his ball striking, and he has putted okay lately. Sung J.M. is a guy who has some good history at this course, TPC Twin Cities, but he's just so bad off the tee and particularly on approach that I'm just going to lean on Davis Thompson's ball striking and his ability to score and outclass Sung J.M. Yes, this is one where Sung J.M. probably has the pedigree over Davis Thompson. But again, the ball striking is so bad. I'm willing to lean on Davis Thompson here, who I do think has some volatility. Again, he is a first-round leader for me, so I expect him to have a nice round one. Sung J could as well, but I'm going to go with Davis Thompson minus 115 over Sung J.M. A lot more picks on the early wedge. I'll have another pick for you tomorrow morning for the afternoon slate. Let's go, though, to NFL futures and to baseball. Larry, you can start wherever you want here.
I'll start on the diamond because this game is coming up in a couple of hours. The Braves and the Giants, and Justin Verlander. It might be time to hang it up. 0-3 with a 5.67 ERA on the road. The fastball is now only averaging 94 miles per hour, way down from his heyday, and didn't make it out of the third inning last time. Had a heated confrontation with the ump, and I think going to Atlanta, this is a place where he will struggle again. And on the other side, you have Spencer Strider, who I tried to fade a couple starts ago, and that was completely off because this guy is regaining some of his old form with 19 Ks in his last 12 and 2/3 innings, a 2.81 ERA in his last 4 starts. It's just a great bounce back spot for the Braves after what happened yesterday. I'm going to play him on the run line at plus 125. And then going to the NFL, Jordan Love's season got off to a horrific start when he tears his MCL in the opener and then against the Eagles. Then he has to miss 2 games. Then he later dealt with groin injury, an elbow injury. He just was not the same. He was not as mobile all season. He still put up very decent numbers in a run-heavy offense. And what I love about this prop, I'm going over 35.50.5 passing yards. You have to shop around because I've seen this 50, even 75 yards higher at other books. What I love is what the Packers have done in the offseason, locking up the offensive line, assuming Elton Jenkins will come back and play center, getting Zach Tom. And then they draft 2 receivers, which everyone knows is unheard of for the Packers. They get the fastest guy in the draft, Matthew Golden, and then they get Savion Williams, an interesting chess piece at 6'4", 225. You can line him up in the backfield. You can throw him a screen. Very difficult to tackle. Yes, they still have Jaden Reed. They still have Romeo Doubs. We don't know when Christian Watson will come back, but this is going to be a more pass-heavy offense. They were extremely run-heavy last year, and Jordan Love could miss a couple of games, I feel, and still go over this number, because if you look at when he threw the ball, he was still attacking downfield at the highest rate. He still was top 10 in yards per attempt. He still did a lot of good things. Despite the injuries, despite all the drops from his receivers, they cannot be as bad this year. I think he lost confidence in them at the end of the year, and I think the Packers have addressed that.
All right, we're going Jordan Love over 3,550.5 passing yards at -115. And then we are going to go with the Braves run line at plus 125. Ricardo Hernandez says, and by the way, Larry, I do have a follow-up for you on the NFC North, just kind of a general question. But Ricardo Hernandez says, can I get a shout out to my mom? It's her birthday. Her name is Anna. It's been hard for her since my dad passed away. Thank you, guys. First of all, thank you, Ricardo, for the comment. Thanks for listening. Anna, happy birthday. Obviously, sorry for your loss. It reminds me, guys, and I hate to kind of go a different direction, but with Malcolm Jamal Warner passing away, what was it yesterday? It's certainly that kind of, I think, hit people a certain way, because a lot of people grew up with his show, The Cosby Show, and of course, Malcolm Jamal Warner, and there's just a lot of memories from that. So just a note in light of Ricardo Hernandez's shout out to his mom again. Happy birthday. Life is sometimes short. So, stay positive, be kind, and do all the things, because, you never know. So if you have a favorite Theo moment or a favorite moment from Malcolm Jamal Warner's career, which spanned certainly past the Cosby Show, let us know in the chat. And Ozzy Osbourne passed away yesterday as well, says Stephen Cook. So yeah, Ozzy, incredible contributor to the music industry, obviously, as well, into reality television. Larry, awkward follow-up, but I do want to follow up on the NFC North. You talked about Jordan Love. What are your expectations from the NFC North in terms of who you think is going to come out of that division? Because you could certainly make an argument, in my opinion, for every team there.
This is the most intriguing division in the football, in my opinion, because I think the Bears will be markedly better. I think the Lions will take a step back when you lose your coordinators and you lose your all-pro center, but they still have a ton of talent there. And then, the Vikings, J.J. McCarthy steps into a perfect situation with all the offensive talent and the coaching around him. And then you have the Packers, who were 11-6 last year. Let's not forget, they were a good team in an incredible division. So I think this is the most wide open division. I think the Bears are live because I'm just so in love with Ben Johnson and the moves they made on the O-line. I think those were critical to help Caleb Williams. But yeah, a fascinating division, and I don't have really an official play.
Zach, hand up if you have anything on the NFC North. But PropStarz, I did want to ask you, looking at the numbers here over at BetMGM, thank you, Zach. Lions plus 140, Packers plus 275, Vikings plus 300. That number has gone down. I remember a couple of months ago, that number was quite a bit longer, and the Bears at plus 550. First of all, PropStarz, do you think any of these are bettable? And second, I should ask, who do you actually think is going to win, regardless of the number?
Incredibly competitive division. As Larry mentioned, I actually think Green Bay is a tremendous fade candidate. I don't think they had a good offseason by nearly any metric. I think Matthew Golden, while being very fast, he was absolutely terrible versus man coverage in college. Typically, that does not translate to immediate success in the NFL. So I think he's a bit of a one-trick pony. I think a lot went right for Green Bay last season. So it wouldn't shock me if they finish fourth in division. I like Chicago, as Larry mentioned. I think taking Ben Johnson from Detroit, addition by subtraction there. But I love all the moves the Bears have made in the offseason as well. I think the Vikings are somewhat of a dark horse. They have a tremendous roster. Kevin O'Connell has been such a good coach, especially coaching up quarterbacks. If he can get J.J. McCarthy to be as good as Sam Darnold was last season, this certainly could be a double-digit team. So I think the Bears have value, and the Vikings, I do agree that the Lions should probably take a step back, but still plenty of talent there. I would actually rank Green Bay fourth in the talent department.
Very interesting. Zach, what are your thoughts here?
Yeah, I think the division is going to be similar to last year. The one team that I'm low on is going to be the bottom team there in the Chicago Bears. I just do not believe in Caleb Williams, even with the coaching change in Ben Johnson. I think I saw enough last year in him. But as far as it goes with the Green Bay Packers, I think as far as the regular season goes, I'm going to be hesitant on. But if it's the playoffs, I'm high on Jordan Love, but I just don't trust him for a full season. We saw this first year as starter. The first half of the year struggled, those close losses against Atlanta, against the Pittsburgh Steelers. Last year, the second half of the year wasn't right after he got re-injured against the Jacksonville Jaguars. So I don't trust him for the regular season. I do think they sneak into the playoffs, but it's going to be the Lions division. I do agree with Proppy. The Vikings are a wild card just because we don't know yet on J.J. McCarthy's ceiling.
All right, Amags, I want to get you involved in here because we got a lot of baseball questions. I don't think we can get to every single one, but you are kind of a strikeouts guy, Amags. Jason Pogwist wants to pay the -138, or he's at least asking about it, for Dylan Cease 7+ strikeouts. Any thoughts there? So
at face value this morning, I really didn't like it, but I had to say that some of the projections I was looking at actually did like him for his strikeouts today. He's in a little bit of a weird spot though, where like as you get some of these pitchers, they get a little bit closer to the deadline. He's somebody that's name's been thrown out there as a potential trade candidate. And I do think that it's a little bit tougher to bet on those guys as they may have some of their innings reined in a little bit. Just coaches and staffs wanting them to face less trouble. So I have to also give a little bit of credit to Miami recently. I mean, they've been, much better. So I don't love it. I think that I have some other spots that I've already tried to. I already put a play out actually on Max Fried for a strikeout. So I think there's some other better spots you could try to go for some strikeouts here today.
Well, Jeff Stenberg says Max Fried 6 Ks plus 210, and he says, I hope I lose.
I saw that. Yeah.
Your thoughts?
Funny enough, the day that he doesn't fade a Yankees pitcher is the one that I'm fading a Yankees pitcher. So.
Okay, so you don't love that bet, in other words.
No, I definitely. We took under 5.5 on Fried last time he faced Toronto, struck out 3 in 6 innings. I really don't see too much different besides him recently having a blister, which really I think could only help us. So, yeah, I'll take the under 4.5 today.
We got to get to some home run props. Before we get there, Kylie Reynolds says Reds team total over 4.5 is his question. That game is the first of the day at 12:05. Reds at the Nationals.
Yeah, Mike Soroka on the other side. I actually do like that one. I would have no problem with trying to take on Mike Soroka. I mean, he's had a couple of all right starts, some shorter outings. He really doesn't work too deep into the games here, but he does have a 7-run, a 4-run, a 3-run earned in short starts recently. So I would be fine going against him.
Okay. Thank you for the questions, everybody. Larry, anything in the chat? I know you're typing away a little bit. Anything that needs to be verbalized? I don't know, for the podcast listeners, for example.
No, I'm going to take it up later. I've got some issues with PropStarz criticizing the Packers offseason. I want to know beyond Matthew Golden. He didn't like that. He doesn't like a guy that runs a 4.29 40 and takes the top off the defense. But I want to know beyond that, what he didn't like. But I'll get into it later with him.
Do we have a concern about the Packers defense, PropStarz? And I hate to put you on the spot here, but I mean, is that one of the concerns as well?
Certainly. You lose J.R. Alexander. I know he had trouble staying on the field, but when he was on the field, he was an exceptional player. And again, I think they just added Nate Hobbs to the defense, really did not make any impact off-season additions. So I just look at Green Bay, and they're basically trotting out the same roster as they did last year. I thought a lot broke right for them last season. I think it's going to be difficult to replicate again.
I will give it, Zach, I know you have something too. Jason Pogwist says, and I was on this when Caleb was at USC. Now, granted, it could be fixed, but Jason Pogwist says all of Caleb's issues from college proved true last year. Bears fans need to take off the rose-colored glasses. I don't even know if the Bears fans have rose-colored glasses on at this point. It's just a matter of, can Ben Johnson and company and just so many upgrades at the talent positions, the skill positions, can that put Caleb in a good position, whether you think he's a good quarterback or not. But I didn't think that USC off-script stuff was going to translate into the NFL. That's why, as a Commanders fan, I was really happy Caleb's stock was as high as it was because I knew we were getting Jaden Daniels. Zach, go ahead.
Yeah, my concern also, I forgot to mention, Jaden Reed. Where was he the last 8 games of last season? He was a top 15 receiver. Had him on my fantasy football team. They just disappeared. I just looked it up. Last 8 games, 234 yards. Didn't get a catch in a couple of those games. So that's definitely a big concern because you need the Jaden Reed of 2 years ago in the first half of last year.
Fair enough. All right. I think that might close the door before we get to the home run picks. Let's get to the home run picks, and then we'll get to the recap screen. Hey, Mags, I will have you, again, hand up anybody if you want to respond to these, but we've got Jose Ramirez with some value. The model says it should be plus 300, the home run number, but the real odds are plus 390. Then we got some serious value here with Christian Yelich. Plus 410 says the SportsLine model, but the real odds plus 650. And then Francisco Lindor plus 340 versus plus 400. Amags, any thoughts here? I mean, I can't help but notice that the value in the gap with the SportsLine model and the real odds for Christian Yelich, but any reaction to any of these three?
Just look up Yelich really quickly. He has 41 plate appearances in his career against Castillo. I mean, that's pretty sizable. Only one home run in there, so you probably wish it was a little bit better. But again, that's a pretty sizable sample size for a player. And if you want, hey, look, I always love a SportsLine model. I think you probably should just throw some money on each of these every day, as we've seen. But if you want somebody or a couple of guys off the board, what about Michael Busch against Seth Lugo today? I think that those numbers are really strong for him. The price isn't great, but it's still around plus 300. And then you're going to get Tommy Edman back in the lineup. And we already mentioned Chris Paddock, so I like Tommy Edman getting back in the lineup. I think that could be kind of sneaky towards the bottom of the Dodgers lineup today.
All right, and we have Big Cheesy 707 in the chat. He says Lindor over 1.5 total bases plus 120, and he says he's going to break out of his slump today. And Angels Mets over 8.5 at minus 110. I'm getting some head nods from you, Amags. Thoughts?
Yeah, hey, Lindor, I agree with him. This is I think a pretty good spot for him to break out. The over, I don't know about the over. I might sit out on the over at 8.5, but Big Cheesy has also been, I think, pretty hot recently, so you might want to tail him.
I feel like Big Cheesy's hot all the time. Big Cheesy and everybody else, thank you for being in here. PropStarz, go ahead.
Real quick, just on Caleb Williams. I don't think Caleb Williams can play worse than he did last season. I also think Ben Johnson will clean up a lot of the things that he did when he went off script, kind of freestyled. Furthermore, you add weapons, Luther Burden, Colson Loveland to this offense. Roma Dunze is emerging. We know how good DJ Moore, Cole Kmet, DeAndre Swift. So I just think it's a much better situation, and I think it'd be shocking to me if Caleb Williams didn't play significantly better.
Well, that's the thing. To your point, PropStarz, it almost feels like it's impossible for him to not be somewhat successful, not for him to have a big jump from kind of a low-ish point in his rookie season. So, I mean, I hear you. It totally makes sense. And by the way, can I just say that we're, again, Troy Polamalu days away from NFL season. Anytime you hear PropStarz say furthermore, you're really close to the Friday prop show with PropStarz and EC and Dave Richard. Maybe I'll crash the party here and there as well, but we're really close to those prop shows, to the special shows, to some primetime shows, a lot going on. And I do want to tell everybody, it's not set in stone yet, but hopefully by tomorrow, we will know when the MLB live betting stream is going to be. And I think it's going to be next Wednesday, a week from today at 2:00. Again, next Wednesday at 2:00 is how we have it penciled in. I will confirm for you tomorrow. Meanwhile, I just want to remind everybody, go to podcastawards.com, click sign up to vote now, and vote for the Early Edge as best male-hosted podcast. I have these instructions, which again, 60 seconds or less is all it's going to take. They're pinned to my Twitter profile. So if for some reason you're listening and you're like kind of forgot, just go to my Twitter profile. It's pinned to my profile. Click on this, and you're just going to go to podcastawards.com. 60 seconds or less, you will vote. All right, we just took up a ton of time, but it was a great show. This is an absolute Hall of Fame cast with Larry Hartstein, Zack Cimini, PropStarz, Amags, and of course, Ben on the 1s and 2s and 3s and 4s. A big thank you to everybody being in the chat, hitting the like button, but more importantly, participating in the conversation. Now, let's get to the recap screen here. I am going with a round one matchup. This starts tomorrow morning. It's on DK under 18-hole matchups, 3M Open, Davis Thompson minus 115 over Sung J.M. Then we're going to an NFL Future, Jordan Love over 3,550.5 passing yards at minus 115. Braves run line minus 1.5 at plus 125. That one also courtesy of Larry Hartstein. Then we go to Zach, Alex Bregman over 1.5 total bases at plus 105. PropStarz, Jesus Luzardo under 17.5 outs at even money. And then we go to Amags Dodgers, first 5 team total over 2.5 at minus 125. We're not done yet because we've got SportsLine picks. And oh, by the way, don't forget about the BetMGM promo. Sean Manaea over 5.5 Ks at minus 135, courtesy of Prop Bet Guy, and Rangers money line. I think that is the game that caps the night at 8:40 Eastern Standard Time. That'll be the last game of the slate. Rangers money line minus 136, says Bruce Marshall. Top MLB home run plays per the SportsLine model: Jose Ramirez, Christian Yelich, Francisco Lindor. Wow, we just covered a lot. We just covered a lot of baseball, a lot of your questions, a lot of NFL, that NFC North, very intriguing. We're going to have a lot of NFL futures as we approach NFL season and a lot of shows. We're very much looking forward to it, so make sure you are subscribed to this YouTube channel. A big thank you again to everybody in the chat, on the show. We'll see you next time, folks. We rest our case.